What's up, everyone? Welcome to level 7 of the Severed Floor for the final time this year. Going through the exports hall, I'm your host, DJ Zwarych, joined as always by my good friend and co-host, Rachel Leishman. Welcome back. How are you doing? Nice to see you.
I'm good. This episode made me sad. Whatever.
A really good episode of television, but I agree. A lot of stuff that gets you right in the feels. And joining us to help us break it down, coming full circle from joining us at the premiere of season 2 and now for the finale as well, co-host of the Phase Hero podcast, Jame Jirak. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I just finished the episode, so I'm like buzzing. I genuinely, it's going to be hard pressed to beat this for the best episode of television of the year. It's like, I thought it was just an incredible hour and 15 minutes of my life. And I feel so good. I feel rejuvenated by this masterpiece of TV.
At the beginning of the episode, which we'll dive into shortly, it was slow moving. And my partner Ava says to me, like, oh my gosh, this is the last episode. This is got to pick up. And then I said immediately, like, no, don't worry. This isn't like the last two that are, 32 and 36 minutes. We got time in this one to really extend it out. And we did. We got, I'll save the thoughts. I'm still in teasing mode. I don't need to go fully into it yet. But I do want to have a quick rendition of what you're watching, because it's been a while since we've talked to Jamie, so I'll throw it to you first. What have you been watching in your own time recently?
Well, yesterday, the season 5 finale of Harley Quinn dropped, and it was a great season. I really hope it gets, like, I always say 7 seasons is the ideal amount of seasons, so I hope it gets 2 more, but we'll see. I can't believe we got this many, so that, I can't have to be grateful. I've been really enjoying School Spirits on Paramount Plus. I haven't watched the finale yet, but I'm so happy it was just renewed for season 3, because it's a really good show. It's really working for me. And then otherwise, just watching lots of movies. Last night, I watched Wicked for the 7th time, but this time it was in commentary with Cynthia and Ari. They're delightful. And then I watched this movie called Nice Girls Don't Explode, which was like a low budget from the 80s that like had kind of John Waters vibes, and it was surprisingly quite great. It was really great, even though it was ridiculous and silly. Recommend. Check it out.
I have been slacking on the movie side of things. I really wanted to go see Black Bag and Mickey 17 in theaters, and I haven't been able to do it yet. And from like a recently come out movies on, or even streaming movie standpoint, we barely watch anything because we've just been watching so much television recently. And we're really just we're in the midst of planning our daughter's first birthday party, which is this weekend. And so as she's at this age, we're really trying to take advantage of, we don't have to worry about what's on the screen yet. Doesn't matter if there's swearing, doesn't matter if there's killing. She can still be in the room doing her own thing. And so it took us like a week to binge the entirety of White Lotus, and we're all caught up there now. And we have almost binged the entirety of Reacher and are almost all caught up on Reacher on Amazon Prime. And I did think that, like, so many people had recommended that to me for a while, and I was just like, I'm sure it's fine, but like, I can't take Alan Ritchson seriously. I grew up on Blue Mountain State. Like, all I see is Thad, like, I don't see anybody else when I see him. But I've enjoying your show quite a bit. He does a really great job. I find it so funny how it's like, from a storytelling standpoint, really well written, and from a dialogue standpoint, just like so ridiculously corny and cheesy, like just very, very goofy. But the stories are really great, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Rachel, what you been watching?
Well, so I just was on a somewhat vacation, but not really. So I watched movies on the plane. I watched The Florida Project for the first time. And my roommate Leah, who's been on the show, when I said I was going to watch it, was like, you're going to cry on a plane. And I watched the whole movie, didn't cry. And then it got to the ending. I just started sobbing. And it was great because I was going to Orlando. So I was like, oh, that's that ice cream parlor we go to all the time. There's the like wizard store. And so it was really nice to actually watch a different Sean Baker movie in tone. And also Willem Dafoe, so hot in that movie. Just like dummy hot for no reason. And then I watched Hell of a Summer, which is a really fun horror comedy that Finn Wolfhard and Billy Burke directed together. It's their directorial debut, but it's really funny. And then today on the plane, I watched Hitman again.
Of course.
It was great. No notes on Hitman on a plane.
Have you heard that there's some Glenn Powell rumors for a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot?
Yes, and let me tell you, Jamie, I'll explain the news. I just wrote about it. There are like 4 things that I really can't in movies and TV. Like if it's there, I like get full body chills and I can't deal with it and I like hide and people have to tell me when it's over. Of those 4 things, snakes, sharks, spiders, and chainsaws. I don't like chainsaws. I don't like the sound of them. It's like bad. If I hear them in real life, chills. I saw that news and I was like, great, I gotta face my damn fears.
If it helps, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's not like it's constant chainsaws.
Well, no, I've seen the OG one.
Okay, because the OG is like, I think, quite possibly the scariest film ever made.
Okay.
But it's not like he's just like constantly with the chainsaw.
I agree.
This news, I didn't hear about this. I don't know. It's like one of those things. They already tried this in 2003. Just
if it helps,
let it go.
The rumored director is JT Molnar, like Strange Darling, JT. So it's like fine. It would be like if someone was like Osgood Perkins is thinking of making a Salem's Lot. I'd be like, okay, yeah. If anyone was gonna do it, I'm glad it's him. But like, I don't know, man. I don't.
Fair.
Famously in college, I made my professor cut a piece of wood for me because I wouldn't go near the sound of a saw. So I don't know how much power Glenn Powell has over me, if I'll be able to avoid the sound of the chainsaws because he's in the movie. But yeah, it's all rumored. They're like, they want to reboot it because the last one was in like 2017. But which, when you think about it, was 8 years ago.
That's not that long.
It's long enough. But yeah, that rumor makes me. He'll be pretty. Like that's how I feel because I'm like I will watch it and probably cry the entire time. I just saw clowns in a cornfield and there was a clown with a chainsaw. I was like, this is my worst nightmare.
We got people rolling into the YouTube chat now, and so it is about time for us to start diving into Severance Season 2, and in particular, the finale. That's what the people are here to listen to, so that's what we will, of course, talk about. Before we do, smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our content. We got Daredevil Born Again episodes, live shows dropping after each episode next week because it's the dual episode. Episode 5 and 6 dropping at the same time. Damon's got a bedtime. He doesn't want to stay up late. So we're going Wednesday morning. And we will be joined by fellow Phase Hero co-host of Jamie's, Aaron Perrine, joining us for that one. As well as, hopefully, as long as the timing works out, heavy spoilers coming onto that show as well. So that should be a fun breakdown. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell so you don't miss out on that. Plus, we're in the midst of booking some Andor interviews. We are going to be breaking down every episode of Andor Season 2. We're going to be breaking down every episode of The Last of Us Season 2. So we got lots of fun stuff coming. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Jamie, we debated this last week, and it wasn't really a debate because we all agreed. But now that Season 2 has come to a conclusion, I want to know what you think. Is Season 2, how did it stack up to Season 1 of Severance? Did you enjoy it more? And what did you think of Season 2 as a whole now that it's all done?
I think it's hard to compare. I think, but ultimately the finale may have pushed it over the edge for me as my favorite of the 2 seasons. Also, the scene between Bert and Irving last episode just like crushed my whole soul. That was one of my favorite things that's happened in a long time. So I think I would pick season 2, but but they're both so strong.
Rachel, I can't believe you did this to me for a second straight week. And last week, you had already watched the finale when we talked, and I admit you once again, as the professional you are, did an incredible job of keeping it concealed. Didn't spoil anything, didn't hint at anything, but still, it hurts. And now that this season is done, I like to think we're at least close to even, that I binged season 1 beforehand. But maybe not. Maybe
No,
not.
you
But
have to
close
wait
enough.
3 years. You need to wait 3 years.
If each of those 1 episodes you watch early accounts for like a year, then we are even.
No.
No, it's not the same.
No.
What do you think of the finale? Did it stick the landing from this incredible season of television?
Yeah. I mean, I have anger thoughts that mean it make blah, blah, blah. I am angry, but that means it was good television because I'm angry because I care about these characters so much that it's like, well, now I have a cliffhanger and I have to sit here and wait to figure, like, it's not anger at the show, it's anger at the fact that, like, I don't have answers for these characters who I love. And so I liked it a lot. Like, I talked to Deachin Lockman yesterday about the finale. First of all, I talked a lot about episode 7, which I think is not surprising because I was like, listen, that reminded me of why I love Adam Scott. And she was like, listen, I get it. I also love Adam Scott. And then we talked about how the finale kind of sets up a potential season 3 arc for Gemma. And it made me excited to see what was to come, but it hurts, which I think means that this show is really good because I am hurt by it in a good way.
Jame, not only are you a massive television fan, but you're an awards buff. You know your way around awards season. How do you think this episode is going to do come awards season? And overall, what do you think?
I mean, I think it definitely has the potential to sweep. It's always hard with TV because they're doing things like I don't watch The Bear, but we all know they put it in the wrong category. I'm finally watching Shogun right now, and it's incredible. I don't think season 2 is going to be this year, right? I think we're going to be waiting longer, so that's not a contender. I really think that right now it feels like a front runner, and I feel like it's Adam Scott's year. I really do. He's been making excellent television for so long, and I really think this is his year. I also really want John Turturro to get the best supporting actor. The whole Snow episode, I can't think of what it was called, but he was just so crazy good in that one. And then last week, just the way he kept saying, "I'm ready," give that man an award. I also just we're a Milchek household. We are tickled by everything that man does, and while I would be rooting for Turturro to win, I really would like him to get some recognition, some nomination. And Patricia Arquette, every choice that woman makes is insane. Every acting choice of hers is like, who told you to do this? And I mean that as the highest form of compliment. What? She's unhinged. So I'm sure she'll get some kind of nod as well.
People are asking in chat, which we'll get to, but I want to know everybody's answer as well. So drop it below. Are you Team Melly or Team Memma? I don't know about those names. They say they feel off to me.
What do you mean? Hark or Gark?
Yeah, no, it's not really like those are better. These are Melly and Memma are certainly better than that, but we'll get to our thoughts on how this ended later on, but I do want to know what the chat thinks as we go through this as well. I thought this episode started so cool, getting to see Mark's Innie and Outie finally meet for the first time, have a conversation. Didn't go the way I think Mark's Outie thought it was going to go, but it was certainly a riveting chat between the two of them. Jame, I'll throw it to you first, as Rachel has lost her lights.
Oh, 2 guesses as to who is the reason I lost my leg.
Benji.
Sorry, what was it?
What did you think of the Mark, Innie, and Outie
I'm sorry.
conversation
Yeah,
at the beginning of the episode?
it was great. First of all, again, Adam Scott was crushing it. Just these, because it's it's not like he's playing two extremely different characters. It's subtle, and there's subtle differences between these two guys, and I think he was doing an incredible job. But I like the way it escalated a lot. I liked that there was so much tension, and it ended with Mark S kind of threatening him. I think that it was believable, for lack of a better word, in terms of how these two interacted. And we've waited so long, they couldn't slip messages to each other. It took a long time to get to this point, and I think it was worth the wait.
I couldn't agree more. And the part that stood out to me the most, outside of just Adam Scott's incredible performance, bouncing back and forth, and I saw him on a talk show, and it's so funny listening to him talk about the differences. And he was I can't even remember which talk show it was, but the host was talking about how the internet's going crazy for how hot you look for those flashbacks, and you weren't even any younger. That's just you looking different. He's like, yeah, I just got a haircut. That's all that happened. And Rachel's like, we've known this. I've been saying it the whole time.
From season 1 on, I've said that hair is not doing Adam Scott any favors. And I'm allowed to say that as a person with a Ben and Leslie tattoo and a cat named Benjamin Wyatt the cat. I have done my time. I love Adam Scott more than anything in this world, minus the cat named after his character. So I knew something was up with that depressed hair where he looked like an emo kid. And then they cut his hair and he looked like Adam Scott again. And everyone was like, oh, he's hot. No shit. Literally, the minute he's not Mark, his hair is back that way. Every time he's been filming Severance, his hair looks like that. And you can tell he's and then he gets a haircut and it's, oh, he's back. Nothing has changed. Adam Scott is Adam Scott again. And so everyone's suddenly realizing this. Enemies. Not a single ally out there. You guys don't listen. You don't know. You need to go back. You need to read the texts. You need to learn your history on Adam Scott. Pull up Boy Meets World. Jump into Party Down. Go ahead and watch every little movie on that list. Because he only has 2 or 3 movies where his hair looks bad and it is intentional. He knows that his hair makes or breaks him. And so I love that that's all it took for people to realize that Mark was hot.
My favorite part of their interaction is it starts so curious and innocent, and they're getting to know each other, and it's all good. And you can just see in Adam Scott's face when he's Innie Mark watching Outie Mark call Helly a Heleny, and just this realization of oh, he doesn't care about us. He doesn't give a damn about my life. And you just see this switch flicker, and we get a different, darker Mark S than we have seen for the most part of the series so far. Rachel, what were your thoughts on the way this episode began with the 2 Marks having a chat?
Oh, I'm a mean person because I love Mark S and I love Mark Scout. But if I was Mark Scout and my Innie that is part of me was trying to have a say in what I do with my body, I'd be like, no, and you also shouldn't be sleeping with people just willy-nilly that I don't know about. But I also love
body. I don't agree with this.
Well, that is what makes this show so interesting, because it is really a conversation of okay, well, who has an autonomy in this situation? Because it was Mark Scout who did this, and now Mark S thinks, oh, this is my body, I can do what I want, I can do this stuff, but it is still also Mark Scout's body. So it's you can get into all of the layers to that stuff. But this conversation is so interesting because it is, one, it shows that Mark Scout, for as smart as he is, he used to be a professor, he has no communication skills because he's not talking to Mark S like a person. which is why it sets Mark S off. But then also, like, I don't know, I don't trust anything that happened in this episode because I already was a little upset, and then I saw a theory that I fully believe in that makes like this whole conversation and then what happens at the end so much worse. And so it's like it's interesting. I like that they both were talking to each other via these like just like VHS record or like recorders. Why can't a camcorder?
Camcorder.
Jesus. I was like, what's the thing that you pull out? But yeah, it is also really interesting because it's like, what side do you fall on? Does the Innie that the original person created need to have their own autonomy and completely be their own person? Or is it just, no, the main person controls all of that? And there's a lot of layers. Because like that pregnant one, that must suck. Your only time alive is giving birth.
Oh,
TJ,
muted, TJ.
I'm muted, sorry. I'm muted, sorry. That one would be absolutely terrible. That'd be awful. I still don't really get how they emphasize that, and I'm willing to look past it because I don't really care. This is such a well-written show. But I still don't really understand how they consistently emphasize, like, no, Mark S., your Innie is only, what's the word I'm looking for? Programmed to the severed floor of Lumen. So, like, when you go in and out, like, you'll be changing back to your regular Mark. And he's I thought already had this chip removed from his head and he was just in like recovery mode now. But the birthing cabin works for him. It just, something seemed off to me and I didn't really get it. I thought more could have been explained there, but they had so much going on that it wasn't important enough to me to really matter to the scene. Jamie, I want to throw it to you for kind of how that scene concludes, because you talked about how Patricia Arquette's performance as Harmony Cobel really stuck out to you.
So weird. She's such a weirdo. But now we know that like she was like doing a child slave. So you know, things have been rough for her. I do want to say I thought about the same thing that you did in terms of reintegration, and I kind of took it as it's not completed. Like there are more steps to complete it, and that's why it's still, you know, the things are working, the door things, I don't know what you call them, the severed flash that happens. But I'm still like, it's interesting to me that Harmony does seem to be Team Mark, but I also feel like she has to have some kind of other agenda here. And I don't know if it's just the fact that like we learned that, you know, she created Severance, and is it just that she wants the credit for that? I don't know. I feel like there's more to her intentions here, but either way, I like that she told Mark the truth, and that we know. We finally know what Cold Harbour is. There are obviously a million other questions surrounding it, but I feel like they answered more than I expected them to this week.
I saw some people complaining, or not complaining, but criticizing or just having thoughts online that they spent a lot of time, especially towards the end of the season, pushing Milchick's turn on Lumen and just showing all the ways that Lumen has treated him poorly. And that really continued into this episode with who I assume what sounded like was Mr. Drummond on the other end of the Kier Eagan animatronic talking smack to him. And ultimately he gets the last word in before choreography and Merriment chimes in. But I saw people upset that Milchick didn't turn and ultimately rebel against Lumen in this episode. The way I kind of viewed it, though, was we already got Cobel doing that. We still haven't seen any Natalie over the last few episodes. That, to me, seemed more like something that is coming for next season. You know, like, I think those are seeds planted for next season to get Milchick's rebellion, but Rachel, when choreography and Merriment came in, for one, this is a new section of Lumen I didn't even know about, but two, this is a pretty sensory overloaded scene that we get with the drum line coming in.
Yeah, and I do like that Tremel Tillman like I don't know if it was, I just saw it on Twitter, so I don't know like where it was from. But it was either in a behind the scenes thing or something, and he was like, I gave them a whole marching band and they weren't grateful for it.
A 200-piece set, and they still weren't grateful.
Yeah. And I was like, that is so funny. Because it also is, I also saw someone put Not Like Us by Kendrick over it, but like the halftime version. So when the beat comes in, he's like doing this thing. And I was like, this is the funniest thing about Severance to me, is that every season we have some weird dance thing or music thing that Lumen puts together, or the like weird sex waffle party. And
Which
people
they called
online
back to again in this episode.
well, but then people online cut those things and put them on, and people are like, what the hell is Severance about? Because that's what they see, is that stuff. And then we're all like, it's about bodily autonomy and what people can and cannot do. And they're like, that does not seem like the show you're talking about. I just saw a guy with a whole drum line dancing in an office. And that's why I love it.
Jamie, what did you think of the choreography and Merriment's takeover of MDR in this episode?
Just my exact jam. As soon as the spotlight came up, I literally said to Tony, I was like, Milchek's gonna dance. So I was like so ready. And everything about that. I loved the like canned laughter that was going on whenever he was reading the jokes. And I like that what I do like about Milchek that you kind of touched on is like he is getting salty, and he's not 100% going to fall in line every time, but I don't think he's ready to fully give up on this job. And I do think that, like, my prediction is that he's going to get a lot of shit for what went down. If someone's getting blamed, he's the one who got himself locked in a bathroom. So unless the Dylan's army of marching bands trample him to death, like, it looked like they might be ready to slaughter that man. So who knows if he's going to survive that battle. But everything about it was just, and like you said, sensory overload at the moments where they were cutting between the music and, like, Sandra Bernhard and Deacon Levin walking down a hallway. It was just so much was going on, and it was thrilling.
You brought up Dylan G, and Rachel, we were speculating last week about whether or not Dylan G would even be in this episode.
We weren't speculating because I knew.
I was speculating, I guess, on my own, while you guys were just taking me for a ride. Well, you were taking me for a ride. But whatever. It is what it is. It's fine. I was speculating about whether or not Dylan G would be in this episode. A lot of chat thought he would not be. I thought he would be. We were right. And it was so awesome how he just burst through the door, no questions asked, and was like, "Oh, Helly's over. What are we doing? Let's get to it." And he's like, "We're locking Milchek in the bathroom. I don't need to know why. Let's fucking do it. Fuck Mr. Milchek."
It was his revenge.
Exactly.
I loved the letter from his Abby. Like, that was a beautiful letter. I really like that, in a way that Mark's got to communicate. The Dylans kind of also got to communicate in a really different but still beautiful way that I really loved that moment.
Well, it also showed two different men and how they communicate to people, which I think is really interesting, because, like, Dylan G got a letter from his Outie that showed that his Outie could recognize what was happening in his own marriage, recognize his own fault in it, but also still be like, fuck you, I'm mad at you. Like, that's my wife, back off kind of deal. But he was still, like, it was weirdly compassionate, versus the Mark Scout conversation where Scout was basically like, nah, man, like, you gotta do this for me and then I'm out so you die. And Mark was like, no, what if we didn't do that? And I think it's really interesting to see those two communication styles between those two guys in this episode in particular.
I agree with both of you 100%. And I thought it was really cool, too, how we were talking last week about how it was a really emotional reaction, and, like, a little odd of how he was so aggressively mad about, like, yes, I guess your wife kissed someone, but brother, that was you. That was you that she kissed. But now that, he admits in the letter, I had an emotional reaction. I was really fucking pissed at you. And I still am, but I totally get it. And I was jealous because I've never been confident, and from what I hear, you are. And I think that's really cool. I thought that was a really interesting moment because it does speak to the conversation throughout this season or series that, you know, questions, are Innies and Outies the same person? Are they different people? And I kind of had the comparison last week where I compared it to, like, you know, Marvel multiversal stuff, where to me they're the same people as much as a multiversal variant is of a person, in the sense that they have the same genetics, the same capabilities, but their life experiences are going to lead them down a different path. And so that's kind of like my understanding of it. And it was really cool to get to see the two of them interact with each other, have that conversation. And from, at least for now, it seems like Dylan's Innie is like, yeah, I'm down. I'll stay here. We don't know for sure because he goes back in and it's like, oh shit, we're locking Milkshake in the bathroom. But for the most part, it seemed like he was going to be going back in. You know, we're still going to get into the cold harbor of it all. But the last thing I want to talk before we fully dive into that is Helena's creepy ass dad pops in and he's like, I see Kier in you, my child. And it's real creepy and weird, but it does.
What does that remind me of? Do that again.
I see Kier in you.
Oh, Voldemort.
What?
Voldemort.
See, that I was thinking it had a little bit of Voldemort.
I can touch you now.
Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of. I was like, what are you doing?
And much like Voldemort, another creepy old dude who wants to have control of too much shit. He comes in there and it
probably has Horcruxes somewhere.
I think it was teasing. Yeah, probably his Horcruxes somewhere. All those little children
all those statues of himself or his family. Like, it's just, if you kill them all, you kill him.
Kill the spare.
Oh,
Robert Pattinson.
Where was I here? Anyway,
sorry,
yeah,
creepy dad.
Creepy as fuck. I think that really teased a next season thing of he is now going to be trying to use these blocks that they've developed throughout Cold Harbor to make Helly the person, like the main persona, and kind of keep Helena locked away because he sees Kier in her. That's my early prediction that we'll get to a little bit. But Rachel, outside of the Voldemort vibes, what'd you think of Jame? Is that his name? Jame Eagan? Pop it in here for a minute.
I don't like that man. 90% of the time he starts speaking and I tune him out. So I'm like, I don't like you. I don't care what you're saying. Your vibe is bad. None of it's good. I'm good. Thank you. But Nate put something in the chat that I think we talked about it last episode, if I remember correctly, where the theory was that Helly R is actually Helena, but then they severed her, and so her severed personality is the Helena personality because Jame likes Helly R more, but I also think Helena just sucks. So he might like the better version of his daughter and be like, Helly R is kind of cool though. My daughter sucks. But I don't know, man. That creepy old dude, every time he opens his mouth, pisses me off. So I don't like when he shows up. So I didn't like when he showed up here.
Jamie, what do you think?
I feel like this goes back to what you were saying, TJ, about like what makes them different when they're in and out. And I think like it's a very much nature versus nurture thing. Like for example, like, yeah, Irving's gay, whether he's an Innie or an Outie, because he was born that way, right? But like Helena is raised in this weird society of like obsessing with Kier and in a way that you're grown to please, in the same way that Harmony was. She was bred to praise and Kier, but with Helly R, she wasn't that. She was just appeared one day, and she doesn't have that background. And I think that does make her stronger. And I think that the father is seeing what Helena could have been if it wasn't so twisted and weird. And it does ultimately mean, I do think that Helly R is going to eventually turn. I do think that. Because what are her options? I don't, and I think that's when it comes down, when we're asking the Gemma versus Helly of it all. I think that's why part of the reason why you kind of have to go Team Gemma. It just makes more sense, unless they do reintegration and they're just living a beautiful throuple life, kind of quadruple life, I should say.
Have them in there. We get Irving back in with Burton Fields, and we all have a good time with the thruples. We finally get sort of the full scope of understanding of what the hell Cold Harbour is this episode.
I still don't fully understand.
I don't either, if we're being honest.
So, I know the numbers are tied to their emotions, but so are they then looking at those emotions and creating those things based on that? Because I didn't understand. I was like, he's just feeling out some numbers. He's not doing anything. And then it did the weird, people in the box that look like them who are also working on computers. So I'm like, what are y'all building? Are you the ones building the room? And his job is vibes? Because I think that's what their job is. Vibes only.
I feel like it's a part of it. The reason why it comes down to Mark and Gemma is because of their history, and it's easier for him to read her emotions, right? Than it would be like a random person. But what I'm more interested in is now these 25 versions of her. If she walks into one room, is she a certain way? There's that's what that is what they basically said, right? She's severed 24 times. And
Robbie Benson says when he's running down the hall after them, you'll kill them all. Meaning all of his little wives that he's collected, Mr. Beast, will die. I wanted Robbie Benson, and then this is what I got. But it'll, I guess they all die when she leaves, which is why she couldn't leave, maybe? Because he said that they'll all die. But
probably die in the same way that Irving is dead because he's gone. You know what I mean? Probably that's how I interpreted it.
Or maybe if you're severed that many times, your brain can't handle leaving. And but also she is Gemma anyway. In Lumen, she gets to be Gemma at the end of the day. So I don't know. Maybe he just is if she leaves, she ain't coming back, and he would be correct. If I was Gemma, I'd be like, Mark, it's been nice knowing you. I'm not doing what you did for me because I'm not getting trapped back down here. I'll send in Devin.
Ultimately, I think Cold Harbour boils down to, it was because he knows Gemma so well, he was allowed to create these blocks in her mind that they were testing with these severed rooms is what I think what was going on there. And the final test was love, which will, grief, love. I don't know. That's kind of what everybody was saying.
That was 100% grief. She was dismantling a baby, not carriage, bed.
Yeah. I got a point about love that I want to come back to at the end, though, and I worded it poorly, if I'm being honest. But I think I want to make. I fucked it up. Okay, let me get back. Let me pull it back a couple steps. Let me pull it back little steps. I got ahead of myself. I need to rewind. Before we get to that
Thank
part.
you, Ava. Your partner told me it was a crib. I couldn't think of the word. It was like a baby bassinet bed.
As soon as you said your partner told me the word, all I could think of was when Mark finally gets into the room and the lady's like, it's a spouse! As he's running through there.
That lady Sandra Bernhard so much. I love Sandra Bernhard. She's fantastic. If you've never seen The King of Comedy, the Scorsese movie, go watch it immediately because she's so freaking good in that movie.
He's just covered in blood, running around with a gun, and she's like, down the hallway. Sorry, make your point about love.
No, it's not time for the point about love yet. The point about love is at the end. That's why I had to rewind, because we still have to talk about when the episode kind of just takes a turn and starts going fucking wild. You know, we get the goats back. I still don't fully understand what the goats are involved with. It seemed like they're a sacrifice to Kier, but at the same time, they had all these posters of like baby, goat, human. And so it was like some kind of like transformation that the goats become human somehow on the wall. I still don't really understand what's going on there, but Jame, all hell breaks loose when we get to the goat scene. Mark breaks in. He stabs Mr. Drummond in the neck, and shit hits the fan here.
That was so funny. I was hooting and hollering this whole time. Like, because, like, first of all, he didn't mean to shoot him in the neck. He transformed and his finger slipped. I thought that was a hilarious way to kill somebody off. But also, it was great to see Gwendoline, like fuck a guy up again. Like I was like, oh, Brianna's back, baby. Just slaughtering that guy. Everything about that fight was dark and intense, and I love some action, man. I really was. I kept going, fuck, oh yeah.
Which, listen, you know, Adam Scott was having the time of his damn life when all that was going down. Mr. Thrones every single Sunday.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, whenever Game of Thrones was on, every single Sunday it was on, Adam Scott would just tweet Thrones in all caps with a bunch of exclamation points, because the man is Ben Wyatt. And so the minute that all happened, me and Leah Thomas were like, Thrones! Because, you know, Adam Scott probably loved watching that fight happen.
That's a great point. I didn't even think of that when I was watching, but that's a really good point. That was a really fun scene, and it really set the tone for just like a fast-paced last half of this episode, last third of this episode. The final act was just roller coaster, start to finish, beginning with that, and Mark eventually rescues Gemma, and it's such a cool moment of like Mark's Outie with Gemma's Innie, and then they finally reunite with each other, and then they're making out with each other as they both change, and you have the funny Miss Casey and Mark's Innie moment, and then it's Gemma's Outie with Mark's Innie. Like, you get every iteration interacting with each other within this really small period of time. And now the part about love that you've all been waiting for. I think it was so interesting how throughout this whole season, people have been speculating that like the purpose of Severance was to see it, like that they're working on with Cold Harbour, is to see if Severance can transcend love. Like, can she fully go through all of these moments that they've had together and be fully removed without any of them triggering her true personality. And I thought it was so interesting that, you know, she disassembles this crib. From what it appears, she's not really feeling anything. I thought I saw some handshakes in there involved, but from what it appears, Cold Harbour is working. He completes the file and it's working. And then Mark gets in there and she doesn't recognize him, but she still goes with him because I think ultimately within her body, within her bones and her self-conscious, she feels safe with him, despite him being covered in blood, looking sketchy as all hell. She still saw this as a safe option. And I thought it was cool that ultimately their love broke through that severance, even if it was on a subconscious level, for him to go with her. And then as we get to the end, he saves her. She gets out. And Mark S. decides to choose his love for Helly instead of what his Innie wants to do, and to go out there with his wife and to finally be reunited back together. I thought it was so interesting that Lumen is spending all of this time trying to figure out, like, how do we create this barrier, right? How do we make her forget about Mark and not have any more attachment there anymore whatsoever. And so many people speculated around love. So many of the rooms took moments from their relationship and made her relive them. And ultimately, the thing that finally separated them in the season finale, it wasn't Cold Harbor like everybody feared. It was just love. It was his love for Helly. Rachel, I know you have thoughts.
Yes, I do. Because I am so... I mean, I would, Nate. I don't know if you saw that comment. If you want to pin it. I do believe that even a severed Rachel Leishman would go along with a blood-covered Adam Scott. That is true. I would do that. There are a couple of men I would do that for. If it was Adam Scott, Harrison Ford, Glenn Powell, or Pedro Pascal, there's a couple others I'd throw in there. I would follow them to the ends of the earth. Famously, I love a man covered in blood. So I am not the person for that question, because the minute he was covered in blood, Leah Thomas looked at me and went, "Oh no," because I love when men are covered in blood. I'm not unpacking it. My therapist.
As long as it's not a chainsaw that covers them in it.
Don't get me started. But I love when a man's covered in blood. American Psycho, never forget. Anyways, as the person who has been so loud about the fact that Mark S was literally like sexually assaulted this season and has not processed it and just moved on by then sleeping with Helly R, like his actions, I understand, because he is like not processing anything, because they don't give the innies that ability to process anything. When you think about it, they legitimately take away their coworkers, basically say, "Oh, well, they're dead to you. You're never going to see them again." And then give them like a dumb grieving party that makes no sense. And they're like, "Okay, move on with your day to day." Because think about it. That doesn't happen with your normal job. You can at least be like, "Hey, I want to keep in touch. Like, let's you and I keep in touch now that you're going on to a new job." And these innies just are constantly dealing with their friends, quote unquote, dying. So like him acting out and doing this stuff, I understand. Here is the theory I don't like that makes me upset. People clipped Helly turning and wrote the quote from Irving that says Helly was never cruel. So the insinuation is that was not Helly R running away with Mark, that it was Helena keeping Mark in Lumen. And it makes me so upset, because leave that man alone, you evil woman. If it is Helena, leave him alone. No more.
I don't think I believe that theory, only because like they're done with him. What do they need him for anyway?
That's why I don't think they're done with Mark. I think it was like maybe Cobel didn't know. But I was like, I don't think they're done with Mark. They were done with Gemma, which is why they were going to kill Gemma. I don't know that they're done with Mark. And
I think they were done with Mark until this Helly stuff has developed.
Oh, interesting. Well, because here's the thing. If they killed Gemma, they have Mark forever. Because Mark Scout, if he either way, if he knew his wife was alive or didn't, he would still be going to this severed floor because he was grieving. So if he found out that Gemma was there and died, that man was so depressed he did this in the first place. I don't see a world where he's like, "Oh, well, let me leave." Like, he would be forced back into it or trapped there like he is now. But now with Gemma alive and out, I think they're going to use Mark. I think it's just going to be the flip next season, that Gemma is going to be working with Devin to try and get Mark out.
I have some theories there as well, but Jamie, I want to go to you first. What did you think of the final rescue scene? They're interacting with each other in all of these different versions of themselves, and then ultimately Marquez chooses to go with Helly.
I mean, I think it's perfect, right? Like, unless, like, since if it was a series finale, we'd feel differently, but we know we're getting another season. And I feel like, Mark S was struggling with whether or not to help Gemma because of how it would affect him. And he found a way he gave Mark what he wanted. He saved Gemma, but now he realized, like, I fulfilled that promise. I can still do what I want. And I think, what you're talking about with love, I don't know if it necessarily transcends the Severance. I think it has the ability to, but I also think that you kind of there's also this kind of tricking yourself, like the same thing with Irving or with Dylan G, in terms of, well, this part of me loved this person, so I know I'm also capable of loving this person, and so there is like a charm in that. Like if my Innie loved Bert, then my Outie's capable of that, or if vice versa. And I think that for Mark S, unfortunately for him, he's not interested in loving Gemma because he already loves someone else. And I think that I understand his choice. It's sad, how there's no way to imagine how this is going to end happily for everyone, unless it's like a law situation where it shows them all dead and happy in the afterlife. I don't know if they're going to be able to live happily, but that's, as Rachel said, good TV hurts, and that's why, my favorite series finale of all time is the Angel series finale, and that is bleak. It was a real bleak episode of television. So, I'm along for this ride, but I really was just so impressed by the choices that everyone was making.
I will say one thing that I saw. I cannot corroborate this, so if this is incorrect, take it up with Twitter. But I think so. The last shot, a bunch of people were pointing out, is reminiscent of The Graduate, which is not a good sign. If those two as a couple are supposedly like The Graduate, it's not gonna end well. And I think someone said that Ben Stiller said that was like a reference or whatever it is, which I guess bodes well if you are Team Mark and Gemma. If all of the signs are pointing to that couple is not going to, it's not going to end well, they shouldn't be together, which is also great television if they're using a reference from The Graduate to clue you into the fact that those two should not be together. I think it's really interesting.
The reason why I still think that was Helly that at the end and not back to Helena is because I was just sitting there thinking, in the moment, what the hell are you both doing? What's the goal? You're the alarm's going off and you're just sitting here in the severed floor. What is the plan here? And then as it ends and I process my feelings and I think things through, I kind of remember how throughout this whole season, and it even brought back here with Jame, is I saw Kier in you as a kid and it disappeared, but I see it again in you, Helly. It's that these are very much kind of innocent kid versions of themselves in a lot of ways. And it's a very teenager, adolescent type of love that they're going through. They're not worried about consequences. They're not worried about the next step. It's let's spend as long as we can together until something tears us apart. And that really was the whole end thought there, I think. And I think season 3 is going to begin with a brand new Mark. I think we're going to see a newly severed Mark that isn't either of the versions inside of Lumen. I think he's going to be working on making his new files are going to be to make a new version of Helly / Helena to lead the company that has the aspects that of her personality that her father and the company ultimately want. And I then think a wrench will be thrown into the plans because Helly is going to be pregnant with Mark S's child. They alluded to it in the at the you can't remember if it was in the beginning of the episode or the previously on part, but they had a scene in it that made me think oh God, are they doing it? I think they're doing it. And
it just hurts because it's that just sucks hurts because it'll make for a lot of drama with Gemma and everything, but that just really hurts if they do that.
And it's going to come down to, okay, Helena and Helly both had sex with Mark. So whose baby is it? Is it Helena's baby or is it Helly's baby? It could be either.
If it's Helena's, then Helly is going to have a whole issue. So I also think it would be more interesting if it was Helena's, only because of the drama it would provide then with Helly R.
And there's no way to ever prove that. So it'll just be Helly constantly torturing herself.
Oh yeah,
trying to
you can
figure
prove
out.
it because you can. There was a time.
Yeah, but not
Oh.
a lot of time. But
We
there
don't
wasn't
know
a
how
lot of
much
gap.
time,
Like,
though.
how much was the gap? Because if it was like a day or two, they're never going to be able to figure it
No, but if it was like a week or two, a little easier.
I believe he said, like, Milchick lied to them and said 5 weeks, but it wasn't 5 weeks. Like, to the Innies, that's what he told them. That's what he told Mark, like, when he was bringing everybody back. But we don't actually know how long it was. That's just what Milchick told them. And then I agree with you, Rachel. I think it's going to be Devin and Gemma trying to get Mark the hell out of there. Where the hell was Rickon? What happened to this man? He had a whole ass storyline with his book, and then he
got
just
lumen
disappeared.
He got lumen billed. They were like, well, "You can't come. You're not allowed."
Jamie, any final thoughts on the episode, the season? Any theories? What did you think of the completion of Burton Irving's arc? Do you think we're getting more of them in the future, or was that concluded? What's going on?
It's hard to say because it did feel like a beautiful ending, but I do want more of them because I love them so much. They're my favorite part of the show. So, if I get what I want, yes. But if I don't get what I want, it was still a pretty beautiful conclusion. But I also want to know more about what Bert's up to because, we learned that he's kind of like this, kind of like a muscle for Lumen, right? And they definitely lied when he said, when his husband was like, "Oh yeah, that was 20 years ago," and he was like, "Oh no, that he doesn't remember things correctly." There's a bigger history with Bert. So and I would like to learn more about that. But ultimately, I just hope I don't have to wait 3 fucking years for season 3. That's really the only thing I care about in this moment.
It's already been written. It officially, I mean, obviously it's been greenlit behind the scenes for a long ass time, but it officially got greenlit immediately after season 3 ended. So hopefully, no pandemics, no strikes. Let's just have a normal couple years here. You know what would be great? Some precedent.
Couple years. They get one.
Let's just have times that we've experienced before, nothing new and crazy for a little bit. Rachel, any final thoughts on the episode, season, and any more theories for season 3?
Why'd you have to make Dejan Lockman stand in a door and watch her husband run away with another woman, not knowing that Mark was severed, especially because Robbie Benson was out here telling her that he got remarried and had a baby with a woman. So why did you make me suffer? Because now she's probably not going to go and instantly find Devin because of all of that information, and Devin's going to have to go and find her and be like, "Girl, he didn't marry no one. He got severed because he was so depressed you died." That's my thoughts. I watched Severance for the love stories, and those are my thoughts.
A great season of television, a great conclusion to a great season of television that will very likely be taking down some awards when we get to award season at the end of the year. Jamie, where can the people find you on socials? Where can they find your content? What's coming up at Phase Hero?
Oh, yeah. You can follow me at Jamie Jirak on Instagram, Blue Sky, Letterboxd. Phase Hero is doing, just like you guys, after show of Daredevil. Just this week, it'll be right after on Tuesday. And then Love in the Time of Hydra, my other Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. We have a big guest on Sunday. We've got Maya Stojan, who played Agent 33 on the series. And this week is actually our namesake episode, Love in the Time of Hydra, which is what we named our pod after. So it's kind of an extra special one. So that'll be live on Sunday at 1 Pacific time.
Heck yeah. Make sure you check out Love in the Time of Hydra. Subscribe to both that and Phase Hero, where Love in the Time of Hydra you'll find wonderful, incredible guests like the cast, the creators, and me. Doesn't get much better than that. And Rachel.
Rachel's been on too. But not talk about S.H.I.E.L.D. We haven't had Rachel on to talk about
No,
S.H.I.E.L.D.
I haven't done S.H.I.E.L.D., but I did Firefly.
Make sure you check them both out. Rachel, where can the people find you on socials? And we're done with Severance, but we'll have to find another way to start podcasting together soon.
Yeah, like invite me to Daredevil.
I will. I'm sorry.
I have not gotten invited to the Daredevil podcast.
Episode 7. Are you in episode 7?
Yeah, I guess. Thanks for the pity invite. No, but you can follow me at Rachel Leishman on Twitter, Rachel_Leishman everywhere else. You can read my writing on the Mary Sue and Collider, and you can hear my podcasts, the Powell Pod, Padre Pascal, the Fordcast, and Cinema Sibs, wherever you get podcasts.
Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. Follow the Agents of Fandom on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Hit the like button on the YouTube video, subscribe to the channel and wherever you get your podcasts. We have Daredevil shows dropping each and every week live every Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. We have the Comic Corner back to live every Thursday. You can find our full thoughts of the season of Invincible, Severance, and ongoing of Daredevil. We will be doing Andor Season 2. We'll be doing The Last of Us Season 2. Plus, we have some fun interviews coming up for that as well. So thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. On behalf of myself, Rachel, and Jamie, good luck waiting for Season 3. We'll see you next time, everybody. Peace.